Okay, so hopefully now we're recording. You should have gotten a little accept button there. Okay, so why the change from Pivot? There were several reasons. I'll mention the bottom one first. This is more cost effective. This actually saved us a substantial amount of money, which was kind of nice. There are also more funding opportunities in the database, and there are a couple of reasons for that. The main thing is that there's a greater variety. They include scholarships and fellowships in addition to what we tend to work with the most, grants and cooperative agreement opportunities and things like that. They also have a lot more in the way of different types of organizations. So there are more foundations there than what Pivot has, at least at the time that we started this. So all those federal and state opportunities that we're used to seeing, like if you're searching through grants.gov or if you were using Pivot before, those are still there, but they have an expanded database, and they are continually adding to that as well. And they have a very thorough sponsor directory, so you can look at that at any time as well. If you know of a particular opportunity, maybe came across your desk another way, you should be able to find it on GrantForward. And if not, let them know and they'll work on their algorithm. It is a very intuitive interface. For me, being fairly new to this industry already, as I mentioned, I have a background in teaching and in running educational programs at the K-12 level. So coming into this, a lot of the user interfaces are not always that great. They really don't have UI people. So I was very happy with the intuitive interface and the robust support materials and service. Not only do they have great customer service one-on-one if you need it, and that's not just for the administrators like us in OSP, that's also for faculty members or anyone who's trying to do a direct search. They will provide one-on-one support if you want it. And then they also have very highly adaptive search filters. I'm going to show you those as well. They highlight the keywords, so it's very easy and quick to skim through the returns that they give you, as opposed to feeling like you have to read every abstract or even the first line of every abstract. So I found that to be helpful so far when I've been helping faculty look for something and they've given me the keywords. I don't get caught up in the things that are less relevant because those words are highlighted already. Okay, so I've mentioned a few of these already. GrantForward, of course, is there. It is a database of funding opportunities of all different types. You may initiate a search. Everyone at Christopher Newport, anyone who has a Christopher Newport email has access to GrantForward. The Office of Sponsor Programs, we pay for that and we make sure that everyone has access. So you can create an account if it has not already been done for you. As well as a profile, so even students can do that, which is also something a little bit different. It also will send out monthly personalized recommendations based on your GrantForward profile, if you have a profile already. For anyone who has who is a faculty member and has either a CV uploaded or you've got your research posted, anything that's been put into the CNU database that the public would be able to find, they have already created profiles for you. So if you haven't looked, you can log into GrantForward after today and check that profile will already exist. You are able to modify it, change it anytime as needed. And you can also opt out of this monthly email from GrantForward. Those started on December 1st, so you should have already seen those come through, at least once. I guess we haven't hit the second one yet. But you can adapt those so that if it's not feeding you what you want, you can make changes to that. You can also search awarded projects, sponsors, and researchers. So it's not just about finding a funding opportunity. Maybe you have a researcher in mind who's doing work that's similar to yours and you're interested in possibly collaborating or reaching out to them or just seeing more about the projects that they've been funded and get more details. You can look for awarded projects or, by the researcher parameter or by the awarded project parameter. You can also look by a specific sponsor. So in NSF, a particular program, maybe there's one that has an opportunity every year and you've tried twice and it still hasn't been awarded and you're wondering what you're missing. I did this with a NOAA grant some time ago. I was looking to see, well, what types of things have they done before? Have they ever funded a project that's similar to what we're looking to do? And it turned out that they had, which gave us the confidence to go ahead and finish writing the enormous proposal. It can save you a lot of time if you find out that your idea has that nothing even remotely relevant has been supported before by a particular program. It can kind of gear you to look elsewhere. And so sometimes finding that out is also just as helpful. And of course, you can curate potential collaborators with your keywords, but also locations. So you can put in either where the activity is going to occur or where your institution is located, and find collaborators that way, if that's helpful. They also have a pre-solicitation search option, which is interesting. Not all sponsors offer a pre-solicitation. They don't all give you a heads up that something is coming down the pipe. But if they do, GrantForward is likely to pick up on that. And so it's a smaller section of the database, but they do have it where you can narrow it down and see pre-solicitations as well. As far as access goes, and I am going to show you in just a minute, on the actual site, but you do already have access. The accounts should have been created. I'm finding sometimes people do need to do that, but it really does take about 30 seconds, if that. And again, as I mentioned before, if you have an online research presence, then your profile has probably already been generated for you as well. And again, you should have received an email from GrantForward. I believe this would only be if you have a profile, but it may be for anyone with an account because it does include your login information. So another nice thing is you will not have a new password to remember. It's going to use your single sign-on. So what you use for everything else related to CNU pretty much. It will let you sign on. How to get to it? Frankly, I don't go to any other pages. I just type grantforward.com and luckily it comes up. But you can obviously find it through our website. We have a link at the bottom where the pivot used to be. So if that's how you accessed it before, you can still go to that same spot. And now it says GrantForward. It is also on the Tribble Library pages. And I am working to see if we can get it just directly on my links on the MyCNU homepage there. It would be really convenient to have it there. Haven't seen that through yet, but that's in the works as well. And then lastly, I want to show you, this is a screen. You'll see it when I go through, but I know sometimes we get into these things and something comes up and you have to log off. So before we go too much further, I want to be sure everyone knows when you go into GrantForward, you'll see the tab for supports. And another thing I really like about them, especially as an educator, I'll always be a teacher at heart, there are multiple ways of accessing support. So I mentioned that you can reach out directly, and that's the contact button that you see just under the green arrow. But they also have tutorials, which are actually my favorite because it's a very short video clip. So like think 1 to 3 minutes or so, and also something written. And then I also like the guides. I prefer to skim and pick up the information that I want. I don't like being bogged down with a video that's 10 minutes and what I need is at minute 9, and I don't know it until I've wasted 8 minutes. So I'm just older. I'm not a video learner. So I appreciate having these other options. There are also full webinars. So if you're trying to do a deep dive and you don't mind 30 or 45 minutes of someone actually presenting and going through the screens and the examples, they're very, very well done. It's just about your learning preference. So I wanted to point that out again, just in case someone has to leave and you want to know, how do I get back in here and get help later? And of course, you can always come to our office or zip us an email, give us a call. We'll do whatever we can to help. And if we don't know the answer, of course, we can find it somewhere. Okay. Any questions so far?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Then I'm going to switch the window here. Okay, so this is the GrantForward website, and I made a point to log out so that I could show you one thing that kind of tripped me up. You'll know you're in the right place when it shows you the CNU logo. And as I mentioned before, anyone who has a CNU email can create an account. So I would suggest if you're going to GrantForward for the first time, click sign up, put in your email. I know obviously that I already have this. But this is how quick it is to do an account if you don't have it. And if you have one, it'll just tell you that you have an account already. You put in your name. You don't need to put in a password. You'll be able to choose your unit, which is basically your department or your office. If you get here and you don't see yours, please, please, please let me know. I can add it. It takes me about 20 seconds, and it'll show up within a minute or two of that. And then you can pick yours. And then of course you'll choose whether you're a researcher. If you're working with students and you're letting them, encouraging them to use GrantForward, then of course they would pick student. It does change what it gives you access to, not as far as any protections go, but the types of funding opportunities, because things that a student wouldn't qualify for will be removed. Researchers are going to see most things. And then you would click Create My Account. Now I'm going to go back up to login because this is something that is very easy to miss. So I just said you won't need to create a password because you're going to use single sign-on. But if you look here, it looks like you need a password. You really don't. What happens is as soon as you put in your email, give it half a second, and this pops up and it says click here to use single sign-on. I need that in like green or red, or that's going to be a suggestion because it really, you need someone to show you. It took me a couple of tries to even see that the first time I tried to do this. So although it should just go ahead and take me in. There we go. Okay, now it's keeping me on the screen that I was on, but you see it has logged me in. Okay. And I have permissions as an administrator. Yours, I believe, will say researcher. You can go in and change your account settings if you need to. This is the section on announcements. These are not CNU announcements. These are directly from GrantForward. So if they have updates, they're constantly changing things. It's not exactly a new company, but they are very growth oriented. So they're responsive to suggestions. So I've seen quite a few over the summer, especially. We noticed that they were making a lot of changes. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the home page.
David, I sent Julie an email about your unit not showing, study abroad not showing up.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yes, I'll take care of that before I leave today for sure. Right after this, I'll do that. Let's see. Okay, so I'm on the home page. So I want to give you a little overview. This looks very empty right now, and it's really because we have not done a tremendous amount with setting up specific smaller user groups if we decide that we need to do that, or searches. I do have a couple of search templates, I think, and some things like that. But you may see more here, and as we start fine-tuning what would be helpful to faculty members and what people request, you may see a feed here. But to get to the search bar, you can scroll down, or you can click search at the top. I believe there's another tab for that. But I wanted to show you what else is on the screen just very quickly. As they add new sponsors and new opportunities, they show up here. I can't imagine that's going to be very useful, but that's all that it is. It's just a list of how GrantForward is changing. You also will see just, stats. And then if you scroll down, you'll see other people who are already from CNU already have profiles in GrantForward, which should be all faculty members. And then there are some other administrative units that are working with it as well. And then your profile status. So this is personal to you. This one shows mine. Now, I don't have a research presence online, so I just had to go in and kind of build it. And from here, you can click edit your profile. There are multiple places to get to that button. I can also scroll back up to the top. Look away if scrolling bothers you. You can also see if you go to researchers, there's my profile here. You can even go directly to edit the profile. Okay, so I'm going to show you what my profile looks like. Yours will be much more robust than this. I threw in basically my education background related things because that was the easier, where I thought it'd be most relevant to show examples of research that they might pop up. So based on keywords that I entered, and some of this was just, I did cell phone policy as part of my master's program, so administrative degree. But it will show you with a visual what things have come up the most frequently and what it found on your online presence. So this is very much catered to you. And I didn't realize until recently how that plays a role in what it sends you. I thought, oh, that's a cute visual, but what's it doing for me? But it turns out you can actually edit your profile. And not only, of course, your basic information, but when you click on research interests, you can upload your CV, which it pulled some things from mine, but I didn't like them. So I think I had already taken them out. I didn't like all of them. Some of this, I think, though, did come from the CV. It will list your keywords. Notice you can uncheck them. You can make any kind of edits here that you want to. It will also show you that cloud that we just talked about. Okay. But here's the other thing. In that list of keywords, they have the option to let you change the relevance level for each one, or how important it is to you. So if you know that in your current place in your research, you're much less concerned about project-based learning, you've kind of moved away from that, and you're much more concerned maybe post-pandemic with learned helplessness, you can change that, and it will give different emphasis to what gets returned to you. Now, what that algorithm exactly looks like, I have no idea. But it's another way to play if you're not really getting the returned types of opportunities that you want. And then I can save the profile. I can discard the changes. Can't imagine you want to delete your profile, but you could. Let me out of there. I don't know what this one is. I haven't really played with this one very much, but certainly if you're looking to possibly collaborate with others, you'll want to be sure that this is accurate. And I will say, once you have, where's my finish here? Oh, I guess I have to click save. So once you've done that, it will update. It does take a couple of minutes to update, but you don't have to wait on it. So we're going to go back out of researchers. And let's see, I'm going to go to, let me go back to home. Okay, so if you want to go straight from the home page and do a search, notice right from that screen, there was a button that said advanced search. I purposefully just did a super broad one, just as an example. You can also go to advanced keyword search here. And I do want to check and be sure I did not miss anything here. Nope, we're good. If I put in the word education, it is going to return things like, notice this is not education, it says educators. It'll take the stem of the word and every variation of it will show up. I imagine this is true for most search engines, but I wanted to point it out just in case other people didn't realize that. I can change it and put it in quotes and it will only return that specific word. This can be really important because especially if you've got a very narrow focus, you really want to be sure you're capturing only the things that are of interest to you, because you see it took it down by several thousand results already. So this is the number of returned results. That's still far too many. There's also an advanced keyword search. And I would suggest a couple of different things as I thought about this. If you're just looking around to see what's available and you haven't really narrowed down a specific project idea yet, I think using a lot of the terms in all of the keywords, in any of the keywords can be helpful. I think all is going to narrow it down. So if you know specifically the type of project that you want to do, then you can eliminate a lot of unrelated possibilities just by making sure that every single one includes all of the words and nothing else. And so I came up with one. What did I take earlier today? Oh, I did one with standardized testing. Okay, so that took it down to 871. And I'm going to leave it without the quotes because I want to show you around a little bit about what it will return for you. Okay, so that's the advanced keyword search. You can always reset to default if you would like to. Once you've got the keywords down the way that you want, the filters are the next best place to take a look. So very quickly, I do want to show you what you can and can't do with these. So you can do an exclusion search for sponsors. You know, if there's one in particular that you know you just don't want to work with for some reason, you can include that. You don't have to enter anything for sponsors. You can skip right through it. But if you know, someone told you about an NSF award, for example, you could put that in and it would only return those. Categories can be helpful. So as I mentioned, standardized testing, perhaps I really only care about in the sciences. Okay, I was a science teacher in another life. Now I've taken it down to 18. I'm probably going to want to look at most of those. Okay. And then you just click it to get rid of it. Let's say that you are looking at a specific deadline. You can enter that here. I think probably the more useful one for most of us is going to be relative. This is great because if you're doing a search and you're going to be having it saved and returned, it's going to return a weekly set of opportunities to you. This keeps the deadline moving. So if you want to know about it 3 months in advance of the due date, you can set it to return grants with deadlines within the next 3 months. And every week that it gives you an update on your saved search, it will extend that deadline so that it's including only the upcoming 3 months. So it's not a date, it's a range. And that can be super useful. I think that date is really only helpful if you already sort of know which opportunity you want to go for, or at least a program, maybe an NSF program that's annual and you know it's coming up. Okay. Open or continuous status. So this is, of course you can change that. You just click on or off for which ones you want. This has to do with whether it is an ongoing, like it doesn't have a fixed deadline, or if it's currently open but has an end date, or the opportunity is already closed. Once in a while, there may be a reason you want to look at something that's closed. I think most of the time you wouldn't. You can include an amount range if you would like. This is very, very helpful. So sometimes we have people come to us who are looking for funding, but the project idea they have is not really conducive to the typical projects that come through the Office of Sponsored Programs. It may be something that needs to go through advancement instead, okay? Or it's, maybe it's even some other type of procurement issue, who knows? But there can be different ones. And so it can be a little bit confusing. But GrantForward is still very helpful to those people because you can take out anything federal. If you know that what you're looking for is not likely to be funded at that level, maybe it's much more likely to be a foundation or corporate support, then this is a great way to narrow it down to the people most likely to be able to provide funding for what your idea is. I should be able to just uncheck them. Okay. Similarly, the grant type matters. And so if you're a student, you're probably not even going to see any of these that aren't relevant to you. But for faculty members and others who are looking for, perhaps it is an equipment, there are a lot of grants that will not pay for equipment. And then there are those that will. So if you know that you're looking for something that will support equipment, you can include this and it will disqualify anything that isn't. So I think that that's another really great key place to try to filter your results. You can also include location either by the applicant, so where your institution is, or let's say that you're going to be working out west over the summer, you can do it by the activity. And of course, it's the same as one of the filters above. You can either include or exclude. If you have any concerns about citizenship, or you need it to be sure that it doesn't require a citizenship status of a specific type, then you can include that as well. Limited submissions, you can certainly search by that if you need to. Applicant and organizational types, just like before. If you're looking for something where you might have an advantage, this is a great place to check for that. CFDA numbers would be really only useful if you know the specific opportunity or the specific program that you're interested in. They would come from the solicitation, and this could be where a colleague told you about one and happened to pass that along in an email. You could just look it up here, and that's the most direct way without having to type it in. Okay, so let's pick one of these and show you how to navigate through. I had one earlier that I looked at. It doesn't matter. Let's just take this one. So this one's not federal. For any one of these grants, you can click on the title, and we'll do that in a minute, and I'll show you all the information that's there. You usually can also click on the sponsor to get a direct link to their website and find out more information about them. Obviously, this is the deadline, and for a quick look, you can see the dollar amount that's available. If it's known, some of these, you have to go a little bit deeper to get to it. Any deadlines, eligibility. I would highly suggest before you go any further to look at the eligibility if it's posted here. That can save you a lot of time. And then details on the submission. Of course, if this looks promising, you're going to want to see the full award opportunity, grant opportunity. It will let you annotate. You can send it to someone, either share it, or you can export it as a file. You can mark it as a favorite or add it to a list of grants that you want to monitor, that you want to stay updated on. I also wanted to show you, so this is all the detailed information. There is a magic button down here. Okay, so I haven't come across one yet that has the past awards listed. However, if you are looking at a program that's annual, for example, this will show you awards that were funded in the past. So it's another way to get to those and kind of see the types of projects that they have been willing to support before. And then this is nice because it will show you maybe this grant isn't really a great alignment, but instead of going back to square one, it's showing you some that are similar. And then you can also, without leaving the screen, you can go directly to some of the other returned entries. There's always going to be a button directly to the application and to the source of the opportunity. And I love that they pull out the contact information. So for example, on an NSF grant, they'll have the program officers listed here. So if you've got a question right off the bat, you don't have to dig around for the information. You can go straight from GrantForward. They've pulled it from the solicitation already. All right, any questions so far? Okay. Let's go back to let's go back to this one. So back on this screen, so that we access that by clicking on the title. I also wanted to show you, let's say you don't have a lot of time, you're just skimming these, but you want to come back to this later. You can click the star, it will add to your favorites, and you can access that from the home page the next time you log in. You can also exclude it. Like, let's say we realize this is a terrible match and we don't want to see this come up again all the way to the end of the month every week. We want to exclude it. You can just click the X and it will stop showing it to you as part of this search. You can also decide that this is, oops, let's try that again. This is to create or add it to a list. So I forgot that I already had a list set up. So when I click that, this will let me create a list. I can assign it a color, and then I can decide how I want to sort that list. And if I don't want expired opportunities to show up, then I can check this. And this will create a list that will also then show up in the feed on the homepage. Okay. So you can go through very quickly and mark things to look at later, things that you want to monitor, things that you don't ever want to see again. And I think that that's a real time saver. And of course, like I mentioned before, it's highlighting those keywords. So you can also kind of skim the whole page here and several pages really in just a few minutes and see what's relevant and what's not. You can also change the layout. I actually like this layout, which usually I would go for something a little bit simpler, but if that was too much, you can also change the layout, and that's something that I hadn't really pointed out before. Let's see. You also can share your search. So what we basically just did was create a search template. If I want to save the search, I just click here. I can give it a name. I can say how often I want it to update me. And then if there aren't any new grants that week, do I want it to email me or not? And then click save. When you do that, this is just personal to you. You'll get an email from GrantForward just related to this particular search. And you can set up as many different types of searches as you want. You can also get the URL for this particular search and share it with colleagues who may be interested in the same research. So this would be really helpful, especially for maybe a department chair even who could set up relevant searches for faculty members as well. Let's see. Oh, you also can sort this screen. I forgot to mention that by deadline, the title, the sponsor. I think deadline could be helpful if you're short on time. All right, let's see. We've gone through all of those. I believe I've shown you the supports. Let me show you in, let's see.
If I could chime in on one thing.
Yeah, please do.
So one of the arts of all of this is finding the right keywords. And so if you do know someone who has been successful or a program, if you go to the researchers or the awards, either one, if you know the profile, if you know the person's name who has a grant or who is doing similar work to you, and their profile is in here, you can see, you should be able to, I think you can see their.
You can, that's on my list of things to go over. So let's go ahead and do that.
I jumped ahead.
That's perfect. We'll just do that next. I was going to show them supports, but we'll just do this one next. So yeah, you absolutely can go in and look at, anyway, now this is going to show within our institution, but we can go and expand that across. Also, if you know of someone, you can search for that particular person. You can also just limit it to their field of interest, and it will narrow it down. If you know the college name, I hadn't even checked this one before. Okay, so yeah, you mentioned researchers and then also awarded projects. Very similar setup, and you just kind of have to play around. You can get back to that same advanced keyword search if you want to. Search by the sponsor if you know a particular category, the type of award. So this is similar to what we would have been doing for an opportunity, but this is going to narrow it down to only things that have been awarded. And you can see the dollar amount, the status of it, you know, whether it's been completed or not. And it will give you the abstract. And I believe it gives, yeah, I was going to say, I believe it lists additional related work. Certainly beats what I had.
Too, so that's,
yes.
So you can search by that PI, but that's going to really help with keywords. And if you know, like systems thinking and systems design, if you know people who are in that, other than one Willie Donaldson, you might be able to search by them and see what kind of funding opportunities they've come up with.
Right. So what I just clicked on with that was view award original page. And that typically is going to take you to, you know, the sponsor and whatever relevant information they post about it. Yeah. So there really is a wealth of information. To me, at first, it seemed, you know, overwhelming. You have to kind of take it a few bites at a time. But if you know what you're looking for, I was trying to learn the whole system. If you know what you're looking for, it really is pretty quick to get to the right information, in my opinion. So let's see what else. So I do want to show you the support home. This is the screen that I had in the PowerPoint. And my favorite has been tutorials, because a lot of times for me, I'm just looking for the one little thing that I couldn't figure out where to find it or how to do it or whatever. And what you'll see is that there is a document, a guide that you can open, but there's also a very short video. All of these are tiny. These are not webinars. These are just the one specific tidbit of information that you're looking for, okay? From here, you can also do use cases. I like the guides because like I mentioned before, I like to just skim for the information that I want. I will say I sent this out to everyone, the Researcher Quick Guide. This is just the handy dandy how to get started managing your grants. You know, it's really your searches. And it's a lot of what I just went over, but they've included the screenshots. So that's super helpful. Then there are the webinars. They have a full YouTube channel. A lot of the things that are here are, I've used these. I've used a couple of those as well, just to get through, especially like finding something that I couldn't find. You know, I've done searches and it was the YouTube videos that came up when I did searches for how to do something in GrantForward. So the YouTube videos are well done. And then of course you can get direct assistance. And the direct assistance can also be, this kind of surprises me, but so far they're offering this free of charge. If you are simply having trouble getting your keywords to return what you think they should be returning, we're happy to try to help with that. But I don't want to downplay the importance of having an expert in using these searches and knowing their algorithm in helping to narrow that down as well. And they are willing to do that. I've been told several times, no, a PI can just reach out to us and we can work with them to help figure out what keywords they should be using to get to the opportunities that they want. And I think that's pretty remarkable. So while they're still, I guess, small enough to continue with that for free, we should take advantage of it. All right, we've done awarded projects. Oh, pre-solicitations, I didn't mention, but it's probably self-explanatory. Oh, maybe I did go through this one. No, I think we just did awards. So I mentioned this before, that they had this as an option. So it works the same as the award screen or the researcher screen. You just go through and mark what types of things you're looking for, and they will return upcoming opportunities that have not been announced yet, but it gives you an idea of what you might need to start getting ready for. Okay. And that is all that I have to go through with the site. And is there anything else that you can think of?
No, I just will say we went through a little bit of a webinar the other day with GrantForward, and they are really spectacularly helpful. And this is really so much more dynamic than Pivot. I was surprised because we were paying a lot more money for Pivot. But I guess once institutions started going to intro webs, as opposed to having everybody's web page outward facing, that kind of killed their algorithm. So the funding opportunity, I was surprised. They really are targeted. They're much more broad. So yeah, I mean, what you're looking for, I suspect you'll find if it exists on here.
That's what, so when I was doing research between the two and kind of trying to compare Pivot and GrantForward, that was what caught my attention first. Second, it was the user interface, but first it was that there were some what I thought were just very obscure funding opportunities that probably are not relevant to anyone on our campus, but the fact that they were there was impressive. So yeah, I do think they've dialed in something. Oh, there go my lights. I told you, it's the poker guy.
Every now and
then. I have to wiggle once in a while. It's ridiculous.
But the other thing that we certainly encourage is that, we pay for the subscription. So if there's something external to CNU that if you're associated with the SPCA or a nonprofit and you're looking for funding opportunities, we encourage you to use this as well. We want this to benefit the community as well as CNU. I certainly do send out opportunities to the tribes. I used to send them out to the city. I've been told I'm not allowed to anymore. But you can thank me for the bike path, the bike path and the Nolan Trail. But yeah, so if you have other places that you would want to look for funding opportunities, this is a good spot. And OSP is here for proposal development. We'll help with the budgets. There's a process that's on our website for when you do find that funding opportunity. Before they got us to clean up our websites, I used to have a little cartoon of someone taking a shower. It was shower thoughts to Cradle to the Grave. We would help you with your proposal development, submission, negotiation. So please feel free to contact us often, and we're here to help.
Yes. And happy